Welcome back to Heber Valley Life Podcast, where we sit down with the people that make Heber Valley such an incredible place to live, work, and raise a family. Today's guest is someone that many families in our valley know very well. Dan Ivie, owner of Wasatch Physical Therapy. Dan has spent more than 2 decades helping people recover, heal, and stay active by also becoming a trusted voice in youth sports training and injury prevention. Dan's originally from Farmington, New Mexico, graduated from Texas Tech University with a degree in physical therapy in 2000, now lives in Midway with his wife, Clara Lee, and their 4 children. Dan, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Rachel. This is awesome.
Dan and I have known each other for a long time, actually when you were newly married.
I think it was even before I got married. I think I met you one time up at the homestead. I went golfing up there with Brad Wagstaff, and you were there with another person, and that was the first time I ever met you. You were working up there?
A lifetime we have spent together, but really we have been sideline parents for a long time with the boys playing soccer together.
Yes.
And as I was preparing for this podcast, I really wanted you to come on and talk about the things that you've done in our community. 20 years now, you've had the clinic. But let's talk about Wasatch Physical Therapy for the people that don't know you. Let's talk about the clinic and what your focus is at the clinic.
So Wasatch Physical Therapy, I started it here in August of 2005. I originally was in Park City for a few years, but had so many friends and family that were like, man, I want to come see you, but I don't want to drive to Park City. So I kind of opened on a little part-time basis here and started building this clinic. And over the years, it's grown. But Wasatch Physical Therapy, we are a sports medicine-based facility. Doesn't mean we only work on sports injuries. That's just an emphasis that I like to do because I love working with athletes. I love working with kids. I traveled with U.S. ski team for 6 years, and I enjoy being around athletes. And so, but Wasatch Physical Therapy, we do sports medicine. We work with people. I mean, we have some stroke patients, concussion. We've got Zach, who's been doing some concussion stuff for us. We work on back injuries, aches and pains that people have. That's what's beautiful about this community. Everybody's so active now. I mean, 10 years ago, it wasn't quite so much. Nowadays, everybody wants to play pickleball. And when they get injured, they want to get better yesterday. And so people are so much healthier. But I mean, we treat everything. After an auto accident, we work with people who have, aches and pains everywhere. So we don't just focus on the sports medicine aspect. That is a part that I love. But we treat everything. I mean, we're kind of an all-inclusive facility.
Yeah. Tell me of the services that you offer, and let's talk about some of your team members.
Okay. So services we offer. I'm kind of a geek when it comes to latest and greatest that's out there for the field of physical therapy. Most of my therapists now. So I've got Dayton Ferguson, local kid, grew up here. Actually worked for me just out of high school as an aide. And that's what I love. Most of my employees that are therapists right now, they worked for me in high school. Brandon Finderly started working for me his sophomore year. Now he's worked for me for over 13 years as a physical therapy assistant. Zach Potts, little bit different there. He actually happens to be my nephew. He married my niece a few years ago. Zach came from Texas. He was Cosmo the Cougar. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that, but for one time he was Cosmo the Cougar.
Once they graduate, I think they can say.
Yeah. So Zach's super. He's a fun guy. He's been working for us for a couple of years. And then I have a bunch of different people that work for me. Lindsay Hills works 1 day a week. I've had Riley, I always call it Gagan, Riley Peterson, both of which worked for me in high school as techs. Brayson Rutter's taking a break from us right now. Brayson worked for us as a tech in high school. So we got a good group. We just brought on a couple new people. Peyton started with us a year ago, and then we just started a new kid on Tuesday. And he was actually my student. I call him Phil the student, and he's going to start working for us up here. Awesome PTs. They all have doctorate degrees, and very well trained. And you know what? The thing I like about them is since they were my student, they kind of see how I do things. I like to do things a certain way. I like to get a certain type of care, the care that I'd want to give to my mother. And so these guys are willing to do that. Not all PTs are. But some of the things we've done is we offer things like functional dry needling, which is a newer type of therapy that people have been doing in the state for probably 5 or 6 years. I've got most of my therapists are certified to do dry needling, which is awesome if you have a tight muscle or a tendonitis or tendinosis. Works amazing. I've got a new machine that is called Shockwave. Shockwave is kind of the latest and greatest technology out there. It works incredible with tendon issues, breaking up scar tissue, breaking up inflammation. It's very uncomfortable, but it's very effective in things like plantar fasciitis. In fact, I think Rachel just tried it on you one day and one session, and your plantar fasciitis was gone.
Yeah.
So, those are just some of the other things we have in there. But all my therapists are manual therapists. So what that means is they put their hands on the patient.
Right.
And that's what, for me, that's the most important aspect of my physical therapy practice is putting your hands on the patient. I believe that there's healing in touch, number one. And number two, those are things you can't do for yourself. You can go in the gym, you can get a gym membership and go do exercises, and somebody can give you the correct exercises to do, but you can't put your own hands on yourself and fix yourself. And that's kind of what I like to stress in my practice is that hands-on manual therapy.
Well, and there's also a different feeling in your clinic, and it's palatable. When you walk in, your team is very friendly, from the front desk staff, even working through insurance issues, which, in the medical field now, it's one of those hurdles that you have to overcome.
Yeah.
But I would say you have created an environment not only for your patients, but also mentoring these high school students that are interested in medical, and they get to determine, is this really something I want to do? At 16 and 17 and 18, you're giving them opportunities to be assisting with your PTs.
Well, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of like, I know I get a few patients that are like, really, this 15-year-old, I try to keep them at 16.
Yeah.
The 16-year-old is going to put this electrical stim on. He's not going to hurt you, or she's not going to hurt you. It's not going to hurt anything, but it gives them an opportunity to do something other than work in a fast food restaurant or cut grass or whatever. It forces these kids to get off their phones and communicate with people, right? And that's what I try to stress with all these high school kids I have. I'm like, look, you've got a CEO of a Fortune 500 company sitting there. Ask him questions. Ask her questions. They are going to give you life information that can just benefit you immensely. And when they do, it's actually quite amazing. These people love to talk to the kids, and they love the fact that the kids sit and listen. Right? They're not on their phone. So, yeah.
That it really is. You've developed this culture of community within these rooms.
Yeah.
You go in and rarely is it quiet.
No, I don't. That to me, that's not quiet. Isn't healing. Energy is healing, right? You want energy. You're in pain. You hurt. You don't feel good. You're not in a good mood. I don't want you to come in and sit in a dark room by yourself, miserable. I want you to sit next to somebody else who's maybe 4 weeks ahead of you in a certain, whether it's a shoulder injury, knee injury, and have a conversation with them and be like, okay, they're better. I'm going to get better. I mean, that's half the battle, is convincing people that they can get better, right? Yeah. And when you're sitting next to somebody else and you see them doing certain things in the gym, in fact, what happens is they end up pushing each other. This guy's like, what did they get yesterday? Oh, 105. Oh, I'm getting that today. I mean, it's actually quite unique. And I've seen friendships where people, they didn't know each other at all. And by the time they're done, they're going to dinner with their spouses because they become friends in physical therapy. And that's the environment I want to create.
Right. You mentioned, it has changed in the last 5 years. You're seeing a lot more activity. You talked about pickleball. Why do you think that is, that our community has changed and you're seeing more probably late life injuries than you did 5 years ago?
Well, I think part of that, Rachel, was, I mean, when I moved into this valley, this was a farming community, right? You guys were a bunch of hicks.
Thank you.
And
we know, we honor that.
And you know what? Park City still thinks you're all a bunch of hicks.
Right.
So
we love late night.
And they were hard workers. They worked from sun up to sundown. They didn't have the time, because they were farming and ranching. They didn't have the time to come in and do
Take
things for themselves, right?
They pushed through it.
Exactly. And the people moving in today, they're moving here for a reason. The same reason I love being in this valley, right? The outdoor recreational potential. And then you get out and you start doing these recreational activities, and they're like, man, I want to get stronger. So then you go to the gym and you work out, and you want to go to the lake, so you want to look good. So, I mean, it's kind of a different atmosphere, a different group of people moving into the valley now. And they're everybody. I mean, it blows my mind, these 70-year-olds and what they're able to do nowadays. Yeah. And that's good, because that's what I want. I don't want to be a 70-year-old that's sitting in a chair. I want to be a 70-year-old that's out spiking a pickleball on somebody's head, right?
Well, and it really is it's what our community is growing into. You're a big trail runner.
Mm-hmm.
We have more access to the mountains via these trails. We've had the golf courses. there really has been a shift in the recreational focus in our community, where Park City, that's really for the last 20 years, that's been their emphasis.
They use that to their benefit too.
And we're seeing that happening here in our community.
Well, that's what's amazing. You can hop out. I wouldn't do this in Salt Lake or Provo. I can step outside my house and I can go for a run. I can hop on my bike and go ride 30 miles around the valley. Sure, I get a few honks and a couple flips of the birds, but I try to stay on the side as far as I can so cars can pass me. But and you can ride your bike to the trailhead.
Mm-hmm.
You can do these things within 5 minutes of no matter where you live in this valley, and that is insane.
Yeah, we're really blessed in that.
We really are.
Hey, I want to transition to youth sports.
Okay.
This has been something, as I mentioned, you and I were sideline parents with our boys playing soccer for many years. It's been interesting, I feel like, in the last 15 years in our community, where we went from really a recreational, sign up at the rec center, have your kids play Little League. Yay for those Little League champions that got to ride the fire truck in the Fair Days Parade, to really competitive sports. And maybe it's just not our community. Maybe it's across the United States, because I'm seeing this in news reports and such, that our kids are now playing competitive sports at a younger age. Baseball, softball, volleyball, basketball, football, 7-up, the 7-on-7, obviously soccer. I want to talk about youth sports and how you have seen that change over your career, because I think this is something that parents really try to navigate and sometimes get overwhelmed with. When do I put my kid in comp sports? How do I get them ready for comp sports? Do they have to play comp sports if they want to go on and play at a high school level? It's just, lots of questions here, and I want to unpack this with you. But let's talk about just youth sports and why it's become so important for you.
I love sports. I grew up, thankfully, when I was a kid, we didn't play one sport. We played football in the spring or the fall. We played basketball in the winter. We played baseball in the summer, soccer in the summer, golf in the summer. We most kids that I grew up with, they were at least 3 sport athletes, right? There was very rarely was there one sport athlete, which was awesome because that was encouraged. You didn't have the pressure of comp sports like you do now. And I think that's part of it. Now, well, you having these competitive teams, these traveling teams, I think is great because it helps an athlete take their game to the next level. In order for you to go to the next level, you need people to push you to the next level, which means athletes and coaches. Back then, we didn't have that, but I think it was more fun.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you've got so much pressure on these kids. My own son, when I saw it, he loves football, absolutely loves football, but he's small, and he loves soccer. And there was a point when he was about 12 years old, and all of a sudden, it was like they were forcing him to choose between football and soccer. And the football coaches were kind of mean, and he tried to do both for a while, and it just didn't work out, which was sad because honestly, multiple sports is great for the brain. It's great for your coordination, and it's great for your muscles. But you kind of get forced into this. You've got to decide when you're 12 years old. Aspen, my daughter, she had to choose between dance and soccer because dance was like, it was 20 hours a week, and it's like she can't do 20 hours a week of dance and play soccer. And it's just really sad that kids get there. But it's taken athleticism to a whole new level. And that's what I've noticed. The biggest thing in my business is that where even 20 years ago, I would see some youth, usually high school. I see 10-year-olds. I see 12-year-olds now. I see 12-year-olds with torn ACLs. It's mind blowing, right? And the part of the problem is one, these kids skeletally, they're physiologically, they're not mature. They're not ready for some of these demands that we're putting on their bodies.
Their physical muscles have
not there
developed. And puberty is a lot of that.
100%. That's what it takes.
Kick in, and then you can start building that muscle tone.
Yeah, girls are typically ready a little bit earlier than boys. Boys, which are a little bit later, and they go through the puberty a little later. But that's, we're putting a lot of stress, a lot of demands on these kids at an earlier age. And so, based on that, I see kids in my office much, much earlier in life than I used to. But I also see incredible games with 12-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 15. The sports now, when you watch it, probably compared to whenever whenever I played is significantly different. It's the Jordan versus LeBron thing. I mean, I think Jordan's the best player that's ever played, and LeBron is a freak of nature. I'd like to have seen LeBron grow up in Michael's day, and I'd love to see Michael grow up in LeBron's day because things are so different now.
Let's walk through as a new parent. I remember with my oldest son, financially, we weren't able to put him in comp sports in 6th grade. And I kind of made a promise to him, hey, we're going to get there at 7th or 8th grade. We're going to put the money towards comp sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a financial decision that we made. Can't do it this year, but let's look to the future. Let's talk and help these parents navigate when's the right time for competitive sports, both physically, emotionally, because what I've also seen is parents getting their kids involved at 8 and 9, and by 12 or 13, they're burned out.
Yeah.
So let's just walk through that a little. Obviously this is your opinion, but it comes from a lot of experience and just working with teens.
Well, personal experience here, Rachel. My oldest son, Andrew, I played baseball. I love baseball. That was my sport as a kid. And I tried to get him to do it right. So I got Andrew into T-ball, and then they progressed up to coach pitch, and I was a bad dad and I was working too much. And so I wasn't the coach. And I remember Drew Patterson called me one day and he's like, hey, I need you to come do the coach pitch. I can't be there. Can you be there? I'm like, sure. And I remember that. So Andrew gets up to bat. I throw him the ball because I'm the coach. I'm pitching. He hits it. They throw him out at first. He gets to first and he stays on the base. I'm like, dude, you're out. And he's like, what? And I said, you're out. And the referee's like, oh, the umpire's like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, no, you're out. Get in the dugout. I was so dumbfounded because I didn't realize that that's kind of how it was. So I'm like, all right, that's it. I'm coaching next year and we're not playing this. This is a waste of your time. We're going to play and we're going to actually run and we're going to call outs and there's going to be strikes. And so I did that. And so I took Andrew and I put him into this more the competitive league and where a little bit more competitive. He didn't like it. He didn't want to play it. But, I pushed it on him and it's not something he wanted to do, something he was ready to do. Right. And I think that happens to us is that we as parents, sometimes we ourselves are the ones that are pushing these kids to do stuff that maybe they're not ready to do and willing to do right now. And when we do it, we go all in and they're not ready. But when you ask, how do we know if our child? I think the way you know if your child is ready to do if they're ready for comp sports, if you come home and your dad and you come home and your son is like, Dad, let's play catch. Dad, let's shoot back his baskets. Dad, let's go kick the soccer ball. I think when you're a kid, that's what they want to do. And they come home from school and they get a soccer ball and they start kicking it against the wall. I think they like the sport. I think that's when you know, okay, maybe there's something that they like. I think I probably burned my daughter out playing soccer by her sophomore year. She kind of was not the same player towards the end of high school as she was before. I don't want to blame myself because I was only trying to do what I thought she wanted, right? And maybe it was a little too much. But I think that when is your athlete, your student athlete, are they ready for the comp? Are they ready for this? I think it's when they're the ones pushing it.
Yeah.
I want this. I want to train. I want to get stronger. I want to do this.
We're in an interesting position in the community right now with the 2 high schools.
Yeah.
And there's been a bit of a scramble for the last several months as Deer Creek has been putting together their coaching lineup. Wasatch then is also kind of shuffling things around. And I think it's good for the community that we're seeing more opportunities for students to get involved. It also has been this juggling act of the district to make sure that there's equitable athletic facilities. What's been your experience as you've had different athletes coming into the clinic and also you have a training facility? Let's talk about that kind of, how do you see that shaking out with the 2 schools?
Well, I think it's really fun. It's been interesting to see because I get the high school kids coming in and you hear the conversations. Are you going to Deer Creek? You go to Wasatch? I also have the coaches coming in and it's fun to talk to the coaches and hear their perspective. Here's one thing I think is good about it, Rachel, is that in the past, you kind of had to play comp sports. If you were not on a competitive team and basically threw all your focus into football, you probably weren't going to be the guy out on the football field playing. You'd be on the team and you might get a few plays, but you're not the guy out there in every play. I think what having multiple high schools does for us now is now you can play two sports, right? Because now instead of 100 kids going to tryouts, now there's 40.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance you're probably going to you could be that point guard on the basketball team and the quarterback on the football team and the halfback not the halfback, but the center back on the soccer team. I think that this is going to provide opportunities for kids to be able to play multiple sports. I think these first year or two, it's going to be a little bit dramatic.
Yeah.
You're going to see, the coaches right now are scrambling. And I think that's, there's kind of like a lot of undertone where everybody thinks that the other person's trying to cheat. And I think that'll happen for a year or two, but I think that'll all phase out as, in the next couple of years.
We had this superintendent here, and the school district they definitely made that decision. We wanted smaller schools. And they saw the numbers that were going to continue to rise. Eventually, it will flatten out. But we were competing at 5A and even qualified for 6A based on our numbers.
Yeah, we should have been 6A.
But you look at it as something like basketball, where you've got 5 people on the court, either girls or boys basketball, and there's a lot more kids that love basketball.
Yeah,
and they're just not getting those opportunities. So I am encouraged that 2 schools, double the opportunity. I already know, we talked about earlier, that there are kids that have made teams already that wouldn't have made the team.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what it's all about, is giving these kids the opportunities to participate in something that they love.
Yeah. And I mean, you can look at how these communities are a little bigger than us, but look at Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Logan, what do they have? 4 high schools now? And when I moved to Utah, Logan was a 1 high school.
Right.
And look at their teams. They win a lot of state championships. It'll all work out, and it's good. It's giving so many more kids an opportunity that maybe wouldn't have had one. And let's be honest, some kids blossom later than others. I remember your son and my son playing soccer together, and it's like Brody was a 1.5 feet taller than Austin. It took Austin time to get there. Not till his like junior year. So some kids just develop earlier, but this way everybody gets a chance.
Yeah.
And I because I love sports, I'm all for it. I know there's some people that think that high school's not all about sports, but there is so many benefits to being on a team and being part of something in high school that I think sports really are that important.
Well, and there's so many different opportunities. I had Matt Adams reach out to me. He's the new cross country coach at Deer Creek High School, and they're building a program with nothing and looking to do fundraising. And it's not just the competitive sports; it's the running. It's running is competitive, but there's so many
popular sports.
Right. There's so many different opportunities between tennis and cross country. And what's been interesting is the mountain bike team, that initially was just some parents that like to ride themselves, encourage their kids. And now they've got 150 kids riding on that mountain bike.
That first year of mountain biking, my son was on the team, and I think there was 20 kids. Mm-hmm. Now you're turning kids away because they don't have enough ride leaders.
Right.
So now you got 2 high schools, you got 2 mountain bike teams. Better opportunity.
So I want to dig into the training part.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think it's important. I feel like I didn't know what I was getting into when I had a son say, I'm really passionate about soccer, because I play volleyball and my husband's a golfer. So we felt like we were navigating and really looking to these coaches to give us recommendations. But there wasn't really an off-season training available. And that was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like we now have resources available to us that parents can go to, people that can help their children get to a higher level of competition the right way.
Correct. Yeah.
So let's talk about that. You've got a program.
I do. We call it WPT, Sports Performance. We started years ago, and it's just kind of developed over time. I've had several different trainers. Right now, Ozzy Torres is a trainer that helps with us. So based on the way things are in the sports world today, where you're kind of being forced to focus on one sport, right? Mm-hmm. One sport requires development of muscle and everything in one way. Now, granted, if you're playing football or you're playing there's multiple movements that are happening, but you're kind of doing the same things over and over again. So you're developing your body in a certain way. When you play multiple different sports, it stretches your body in multiple different ways. We're not doing that anymore. So you have to find a way to do that. And that's where the sports training comes in. You go into, a typical class with us, you come in and we're going to do agility, we're going to do strength, and we're going to put stresses on the body that in different ways than what it's had in the past. We're going to look at important things like deceleration, where that's where a lot of injuries can occur because we haven't developed the right muscle fibers and the lot that put stress on the ligaments and the tendons in the right way because we're not focusing on deceleration and some of these other things. So when you build strength, when you work on this agility, you're developing receptors in the body, in your joints and in your ligaments that help to stabilize those joints and keep you from getting injured. And so that's why I started the sports performance centers, because I was just seeing way too many injuries in kids that they just were poorly developed. They were developed great in some ways, but not in others. So this is just a way to develop it in other ways. And there's great things. There's not just me. There's others in this community. Micah Gogan has a great facility over there at Gogan's Garage, where he is really good at getting you bigger and stronger. I know he incorporates some of the agility aspects into it also. We've got some CrossFit gyms in the area. And while I'm not a huge proponent of CrossFit in the older population, in the younger population, I think it's great. It puts a lot of stress on the joints and helps with stabilization and injury prevention. So
it's almost that strengthening naturally instead of, like you said, doing the same thing over and over again and wearing that out without really building out the entire body and the muscles to protect especially young people.
Yeah. When I owned a franchise in Athletic Republic, and their famous quote was, "Next season starts now." Mm-hmm. So basically the concept was, when the season ends, they immediately, let's start the next season. And that next season is that training, right? Aspen, when she would play soccer, it's like there was never any breaks. And that's how it is with comp sports. It's like the season ends and then the comp season starts. Like literally they almost overlap. And I always had a rule of thumb is that when the season ended in October, first part of November, you don't touch a soccer ball until after Christmas, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe it's November 15th. It's like, okay, babe, you're not allowed, no soccer. You want to go play basketball, you want to go do something, great. But at this point, kids need a break. Their bodies need a break. And that's when it's like, go to the gym and let's do some other stuff. Now, it's even equally important to do it in season as it is out of season. And in fact, what the research has found is that people who, let's say you come and you work out with us or you work out with Micah in the off season, right? And we're doing all this stuff to make your body healthier and stronger and preventing injuries. Research shows that if you'll do that same thing once a week while in season, it even enhances the outcomes even more. If you don't continue to do that, you'll lose some of those benefits that you gained in the off season. Not necessarily make you more susceptible to injury, but if you continue to do it, it makes you less susceptible. Sorry.
I want to talk about injury though, because even yesterday I was at a graduation and watched this girl limping by and could see the leg brace on that knee. Are you seeing injuries that you didn't see 10 years ago?
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, I've had a 11-year-old who had an ACL repair, and there's been a couple. But typically we start to see him 14, 15, 16.
Right in the prime.
Yeah. And then, and it's like we said, they're doing things, they're putting stresses on their body. Their bodies aren't ready for it. The ligaments aren't, the muscle's not there to protect the ligaments. So yes, no, I'm seeing significantly larger, worse injuries now than today versus even 10 years ago, 15 years ago, for sure. And I think back to when I was in high school, I can remember like one or two kids that tore an ACL. Now everybody knows people who tore an ACL, right? And maybe it was, we didn't diagnose it as good back there. Maybe we just didn't. I never went to physical therapy and I had all kinds of injuries. Maybe we're more aware of it. Maybe we're looking out for our children a little bit more now. I don't know, but we definitely I see bad injuries today. And every year it seems like they get a little bit younger.
But do you think that's because the parents are putting pressure on kids to perform at a level they're not prepared to perform at?
I think that's probably part of it. I think that we're throwing our kids I'm a perfect example. My daughter was half the size of most kids out on the soccer pitch, but she was playing against her brother and your son, and they were 4 years older and twice her size and just beating the crap out of her.
But she had grit.
She
and
did,
she
and
wanted to be there.
and that's what kept her from getting injured. But the problem is sometimes my other daughter Ashley, if I threw her out there, she got destroyed. But so yeah, I think that's part of it. But I also think that, like I said earlier, kids develop at different ages. So you'll have a 12-year-old boy out there against another 12-year-old boy, and there's a foot and 50 pounds difference in size, right? And so, and they're on the same field, and that can at itself be dangerous. One quick little thing. I was talking to this guy who's a soccer coach from England, and I asked him. He said he got asked to come here by the U.S. to sit down with them and help them develop a youth soccer program for the United States, something similar to England. And here's what he told me, that the difference, and the U.S. didn't want to do this. He said, in England, we take the kids, and it's not based on age. It's based on size. So he's like, my son's small. So he might be 12 years old, but he's competing with 10-year-olds because that's where they're alike. That's more his competition, right? And he's like, up until the age of about 16, they do that. And they don't keep track of who wins and loses. They play games, they train, and it's training, right? Yeah. And at the age of 16, then they start getting a little bit more competitive. But up until that time, it's all based on size, height, and weight. And they were like, yeah.
Can you imagine? Because right now, I think the joke is always with Little League Baseball, especially when you've got a kid that's playing in that pony league that has hit puberty early, and he's a foot taller and 30 pounds heavier. And they're always like, check his birth certificate. Yeah. Can you imagine if it was based on weight and height?
That'd be a lot different. I mean, you watch the Little League World Series. Those kids are 6'2", 140 pounds, and they're 12. Yeah. Right? Come on, no way. Right. So,
I think Americans are a little too competitive.
Yeah.
And therefore, we want to stay with what we know.
Yeah. Which I love that. I'm a competitive person. I hate to lose. Losing is good. I hate to lose, and I'm really competitive that way, and I love it. But at the same time, yeah, there comes a point.
It's been interesting in the last couple of years. We've seen more dance clubs, more karate, more soccer clubs, more traveling youth sports. What do you think is good, bad with having all of these different next level youth activities?
Yeah, good is that it if your athlete wants to be better, they're going to get better, right? Because they're gonna gravitate to teams where they can see success and they can be pushed, right? And I think that's important. I think that it's always frustrating when you have the 2 or 3 kids out there that are like leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else, because then they just get frustrated and then they don't enjoy the sport anymore. So I think having the competitive things is good in that sense. The downside to it is the expense. I mean, it's getting so dang expensive now. I mean, it used to be $400 for the year for soccer. Now it's $2,000. And then, oh, wait, we're going to travel to these. And I'm one of the people, I love to travel. I love to go to St. George and do tournaments. But now it's like, oh, we're going to go to Florida. Oh, we're going to go to California. I mean, it's gotten to that point. So, I mean, so there's good and bad with it. I think that some of the bad about it is we are putting too much pressure on our kids. And so they're missing out on other opportunities to play other sports. Like, I wish my kids would have played tennis, right? I think that because, and the reason I say that is because they could play that for the rest of their life, right? I see all these people that come in their 60s and 70s and they play tennis, right? And, and golf and some of these other things that you can do for the rest of your life. You can't play soccer you can't play football. You can't do those things for the rest of your life. In fact, usually after high school, kind of done unless you're doing intramurals. And so I think that's bad because we're not giving our kids other opportunities.
D1 athletes that we think every child is going to turn into.
Right. I mean, how many have we had from this community, right? I mean, honestly.
And they're amazing athletes. And we are so proud of them. Yeah. It's really, it's not because of the team they're on. It's because of their genetics. It's because of their grit.
Yes.
It's because of a family support system.
Yeah.
It's because of a kid that saw, I want to do this and have the desire to see that dream through.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. Statistically, it's like 1 in 30,000.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's it is what it is. And we do have some amazing, let's give kudos to Bob. Bob just signed with the New Orleans Saints. I mean, that is so awesome. This kid played football at Wasatch. Bob Schick. Yeah. I mean, Bob is the most loving, kind individual. I wish he just had a little anger in him because but I mean,
but you get to that level. And when Bob played here at Wasatch High School, he was the kid that everybody loved. The kid, it was so easy to cheer for him. He was a big teddy bear.
And that's but what's the difference? Bob was 6'5", 275 pounds. That was he was just lucky.
Yeah.
Good genetics, right?
Good genetics.
And, that, let's be honest, that helps significantly.
Yeah.
So,
all right, as we wrap up, I want to talk about life in Heber Valley.
Okay.
So you had the opportunity to meet Laura Lee Berg, who is multi-generational here, bought her parents' home, live in it now.
Yeah.
Outside of work, you are deeply connected to the recreation and the outdoor community in this valley. Running, biking, wakeboarding, skiing, hiking, you have the scars to prove it.
I do. I've got them everywhere. Lots of surgeries.
What is it about the Heber Valley lifestyle that you love most?
Well, let me tell you this. My wife and I served our missions together in England, and her mom was going through breast cancer. And so when I left my mission, she said, "Hey, will you do me a favor? Will you take my mom flowers for Mother's Day?" And so I was in Provo going to school. So me and my buddy drove up here. And as we're coming up the canyon, this is back in the day when it was Provo Canyon, right? The little single lane road winding along the river. And I was like, I come from New Mexico. It's probably more like Delta, right? I mean, there's nothing really nice. Sorry, Delta, if you love it there. There's just not a whole lot to look at there, right? It's not a very beautiful place. My family's there, which makes it great. But I'm driving up here and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, I love the mountains. I could see the mountains out my backyard from my home in New Mexico. And I was like, oh my gosh, this place is gorgeous, right? And then we come past Deer Creek and I'm like, and then you see Tampa in the background. I'm like, where the crap am I? And so from the moment I first drove up in this valley, the very first time, I was just like awestruck over it. And then, fast forward, my wife and I, we get married and we're living up here. And I'm just like, this is the most amazing place. I can go 5 minutes and go skiing at the lake. Luckily, I knew the Wagstaffs, and so I could do it because they have boats. And then I could go out the backyard and ride my mountain bike. And there was just so many opportunities in this valley for the things that I love to do. Things that traits that I developed as a kid that I could keep doing up here very, very, very easily. And so that was kind of the draw. And I'm all about recreation. I mean, I haven't gotten into pickleball as much as I'd like to. I put a court in my yard now and we play on occasion, but it's finding the time because I have so many other hobbies that I love to do up here. Fishing and biking and hiking and running and skiing and wakeboarding. I mean, what can't you do in this valley?
So true.
Yeah.
So true.
And I love it. And one of the coolest parts about it, Rachel, is we'll be on a run and 10,000 feet. We're up above Alto, whatever, and you run into somebody and you stop and you talk and you meet this person from New Jersey or these people from California, and you're all out there doing the same thing, and it's just like your best friends. I mean, let's be honest. There is so much negativity in the world in this valley right now, and it is so nice to just get out and people are smiling, they're breathing clean air, everybody's happy, you're running, you're talking. It is awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And the trail community, I would say, are some of the nicest people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you're all getting great fresh air.
You know what? I mean, what's not to love about being up on a trail in the mountains, sweating, sun beating down on you, having a good conversation with somebody that you've never met, and then but you get to know them, and then maybe you hang out with them later. It's awesome. Yeah, and it's that way with mountain biking. And you stop and you're getting a drink, and somebody pulls up. Hey man, how's it going? Where you from? This is cool.
Yeah, I love it. As we wrap up, what are some things that you would want people to know about Wasatch Physical Therapy? Where can they find out more? If they're dealing with injuries, what would be your recommendation for next steps?
Okay, so we have a website, wasatchpt.net. We've actually recently just started doing advertising. John Bliss we hired John to throw out some ads for us, and I like it because I want people to know what we do and who we are, what we do, and what we offer. And we are an all-inclusive physical therapy practice. We don't just see sports medicine. I mean, probably the majority of 50% of the stuff we see is post-surgical. I mean, we see total knees, total hips, total shoulders now. We're seeing just aches and pains in the winter. This was a bad winter. It was never cold, so we didn't get our aches and pains in like we normally do. But, we're getting people that they hurt. They want to stay active, and they just hurt a little bit. It's keeping them from performing. They want to lift weights, but their elbow hurts. So we see everything. But what I can say about my practice is my staff, they love what they do, and when you love what you do, you tend to do it better, right? You enjoy being there. I'm one of those people. I run my business, and if I could make more money and hire somebody to run my business so I didn't have to worry about that, I would. Because what I love doing is putting my hands on patients, having a conversation, and seeing these people get better. Nothing is better to me than when I walk in Smith's and somebody comes up and they raise their arm in the air and they're like, I couldn't have done this without you.
I can lift my arm again.
Or I see them up running and they're like, dude, I never thought I would be back here. That is what makes my job so rewarding and so amazing. And that's what makes I think our business so good. And because you said it, we've created a community within our practice. And it's like the thing, it's funny because, I mean, remember Cheers? Norm, I mean, it's funny when people walk in, there's all of a sudden you just hear people, hey, I can be sitting back in the furthest room away and I hear people chatting because now they're seeing their buddy who's showing up for physical therapy, right? That's what we want. That's good energy, and that's how we heal. So do you know George Holmes?
Oh, yeah.
George Holmes tells me, just for all of you who are looking for a way to heal, he tells me that country music is healing. So if you can't get into PT, I guess you just listen to country music and that will heal you.
You know, I will say from personal experience, I had pains like the plantar fasciitis, long-term back problems. Sometimes we put those things off too long.
Always. We
and
usually do.
We could take care of it with the right care and physical therapy and not live in the pain we often do just because it feels unnecessary or expensive, but the reality is it's not worth living in pain.
Right. And this is to men specifically, but also you moms. The longer you put it off, the longer it takes to fix, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you came in with your daughter, you said your foot hurts, and I did the shockwave on it, right, and it was immediately better. But it was because it only didn't bother you for a week or two. When you wait 6 months, a year, 18 months, I mean, I hope to work miracles, but usually if that's the case, it's not going to happen in 1, 2, 3 days. Sometimes it takes 6, 10, 12 visits, right? But if you get that back pain, I mean, don't let it get too out of control, because the longer you wait, the harder it is, because then everything else, the whole system starts to go out of whack. So the sooner you address an injury, the easier and the quicker you're going to recover. And I'm a perfect example. I don't do it until I can't do the activity anymore, and then it takes me a lot. I've been off running for 5 weeks now because I tore my plantar fascia and I just kept running on it. Now I'm paying the price. So
yeah, and this has been so fun, and we could talk all morning.
Oh, I could for sure, Rachel.
I love it, but you really are one of those people that has built not just the community in your clinic. You have been out. I've seen you at soccer games. I've seen you at cheer competitions. You're one of those guys that shows up to support not just your patients, but your patients' children. Yeah. You've put your money where your mouth is. You have supported the high school. You've supported comp teams. You really are one of those guys. You're the good guy in our community, and I appreciate knowing you. And
thanks for saying
you
that,
inspire
Rachel.
me.
Well, I just want the community to know I support the community that supports me. I mean, throughout the years, I get so much support from the high school. I get so much support from all the different groups in this valley, and so my wife hates it because I donate to everything. I probably could have a lot more money, but I give back to the community that gives to me. And that means sometimes it's showing up at a dance recital. Sometimes it's showing up at the play. I love to go watch my clients perform.
I know.
It gives me, and you know what? For me, it's a good excuse because my wife is like, "What? You don't softball? You're gonna go watch softball?" I'm like, "Yeah, so and so's playing."
Yeah.
So I love it.
I love that about you. This has been really fun.
Thanks, Rachel. Thanks for having me on. Yeah.
So if you're not already subscribing to our podcast, we have great episodes. We are meeting with people, hearing these positive stories, meeting the people that are making difference in our community, and you're one of those.
Oh, thank you.
So Dan, Ivie, thank you so much, and thank you for listening. This is Rachel Kahler, the Director of Community Alliance for Main Street, and just someone that loves Heber Valley, as you do too.
Thank you, Rachel. This is awesome.
Thanks so much, everybody.